Hey, and welcome to our fifth online Q&A session. My name is Jeff. I run the admissions process here at Hyper Island. Kind of joke that I'm the Gandalf of Hyper Island, so to speak, the guardian, the gatekeeper. Taking you on hopefully your Hyper Island journey here. So thanks and welcome.
Really warm welcome again from me. I'm Sam. I work with the digital media creative program here at Hyper Island, sort of guiding the students and planning the education. It's an awesome job, and I'm super happy to be here with you today, Jeff.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
The purpose behind why we do our online Q&A sessions is not only for you to get a little bit of info, which we think is quite important. Maybe you've been perusing our website and you still have a bunch of question marks in your head. Totally fine. That's why hopefully we're here to help. But also for you to sort of meet some of the personalities here at Hyper Island and get to know, put some faces to our names if you've emailed us in the past. This session is more or less information about the Nordic application process. So if you're sitting there and you're watching this from the States or in Brazil or in Japan, totally fine. There's still probably some useful information in this, but it's more sort of targeted to our future Nordic students. So what will we discuss today? Here's our agenda. So we'll do a little bit of an overview of the Nordic application process, the application deadline, what goes on at the Hyper Island Admissions Day, how will you be notified of your admissions?
And when.
And when, some dates. Chat a little bit about the creative task, and pose for some questions and answers. Yeah. So a bit of an overview of what the application process looks like is this. It all starts with clicking the Apply Now button on one of our program pages at hyperisland.com. There you'll be asked to create a login. You'll then have to confirm that login. And from there you can start compiling your contact information. You can actually choose which programs you'd like to apply in which order. So priority 1 is your first choice, priority 2 is your second, and you'll be evaluated in that sort of flow, so from first to third. You have the opportunity to upload your CV and any sort of certificates that you might have, as well as responding to our creative task. And you have to click submit before April the 14th. I suggest maybe clicking submit a few days before the 14th so you don't get that anxiety or your stress level too high.
Sometimes our servers even go down on that day
because so much traffic.
So much traffic. So just for your own safety and for our well-being as well, apply a little bit earlier or submit.
And also you can't click submit until all fields are filled out in your application. So make sure you do that. If you have wowed us on paper, so to speak, and have passed stage 1 of the application process, you'll receive an invitation to our admissions day, which takes place May 18th to the 25th, but not over the weekend. At the admissions day, that's step 2 of the application process. That's where we actually get to meet all of our future students and hopefully start creating the best classes possible.
And is it one day or is it several days of all of those that you mentioned?
Right, so you'll only be required or asked to join one day. So great question. Each program has its own day. So digital media creative tends to be on that Friday before the weekend. So we haven't finalized the dates just yet, or the programs just yet. But you'll only be asked to join one day.
Cool.
And then if you are offered a seat, you'll be notified by Swedish Midsummer. So I think this year it's like June the 19th of your acceptance. And then you will join us August the 8th for Hyper Island Way Week, which is basically our version of the
introduction week.
Student orientation
week,
where you sort of lay the foundation of the entire school year.
Cool.
In a very nitty-gritty way, here's sort of those steps that we mentioned.
Right.
So say you're applying to the Motion Creative, the 2-year program down in Karlskrona, you would click the Apply Now button here. Start your application. So here I've inputted my email address and created my super secret password. You'll get a notification. Thanks for applying or activating your account. You'll receive an email. Here you have to click through and sort of activate your application. You'll log back in. Here's where you choose and select the programs of your choice. Starting, priority 1 is the one that you most want to attend. So here's Motion Creative 2-year in Karlskrona. You could add digital data strategist. You could add digital media to these. I've kind of skipped the other sort of section, inputting personal and contact details, as well as uploading your CV and your certificate. So I just sort of hop down here to the end. Here's where you submit your creative task. You click save. You have to do this in sequence. And here you'll see that everything is complete with these green arrows, and now you can click the submit button. But beware, once you do click submit, you won't be able to edit your application. So make sure that you are ready to submit. You'll get a confirmation. This is your application has been received, and here's actually an opportunity for you to give us feedback on the application process. Was it good? Was it hard? Was it challenging? Did it make sense?
Super helpful for us.
And you need to apply by April the 14th. Yeah, the Hyper Island Admissions Day is not only an opportunity for us to meet our future students, but it's a great opportunity for you as applicants and future students to meet us. Not only just, myself and Samuel and the rest of our colleagues, but to meet Hyper Island. It's a Hyper Island experience. It'll really give you, I hope, a better understanding of how we operate and how things are to be expected if you were to study here.
You'll try some different tools and methods and ways which we work with it. How you learn at Hyper Island, basically. You'll get a whole learning experience.
Absolutely.
If you get to the stage.
And what we want is for you to be more safe and confident and comfortable with your decision to actually come to Hyper Island if you are offered a seat.
Yes.
And during that day, it'll consist of an individual interview. It'll consist of a personal task. And it will consist of a group assignment or a group task. So we give you a challenge to solve as a group. But you'll also have some opportunity to meet current students who will share their personal experience and share some of the projects that they've been working on and give you a little bit of an insight of what it might actually be like to study here.
Yeah.
And also what's good to note is that when you do arrive and you come to the admissions day, we don't necessarily care about your creative task or your application. It's a totally clean slate. We're here to see you. We want to see the authentic you.
Yeah, and I would say it's a really fun day. It's probably the most fun day of the year for us, and we hope it might be for you as well.
Yeah.
Great experience to be here. A lot of energy.
Super good. Yeah. Once you have conducted the admissions day, it takes us 2 to 3 weeks to actually wrap up that process. And we have to get everything approved actually by our program steering committees. The program steering committees are a group of industry people and professionals that actually help design our programs. They say what's relevant and what's irrelevant in our programs, but they also actually approve our admissions process. So we can't actually notify any of our applicants of their acceptance until everything's been approved, and you should and you will receive your admissions letter via email prior to Swedish Midsummer, which is like the 19th of June.
Yeah.
Let's skip down to the creative task.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that.
So the creative task this year, like all years, we challenge you to sort of take a stab at a very big sort of global question, world-saving question. Yeah. Last year was equality, the year before that was movement. This year the theme is integration. So in the gist of it, how can we use creative problem solving to support the integration of displaced people? And sure, you can think about the crisis that's going on here in Europe with a lot of refugees fleeing their countries to land here in the EU. But it doesn't necessarily have to be integration in that sense. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. So I'm half Swedish. Up until 5 years ago, I lived in the States. So it could be a way to integrate new American expats to Sweden. Yeah. I don't know. Or people moving to take a job in Japan or Tokyo. You did that.
I did that. So ultimately, what we would like you to do is to take your own approach to the creative task. There is no right or wrong answer. We're not asking for one specific answer. We want to see your creativity and your ability to innovate and solve a task in your own way.
Yeah. And the question, how might it be assessed? So here's the assessment criteria. So on one side, you have presentation and communication. So how well do you communicate your idea or concept? Is it clear? Do I understand it? Do we understand it?
So is the communication effective?
Right. Yeah. Could a 7-year-old understand it? And presentation, how well or aesthetically pleasing do you present your idea? Whether that's in webinar form like this, or PDF, or graphic design, it's up to you. We actually allow for all sorts of submissions, but we do have to receive it digitally, so remember that.
You can't send a letter.
Right, yeah.
A physical letter.
Right, you couldn't send a singing telegram to the door, which would be fun. You could film it.
Yeah. Sure, why not?
Yeah. And the other sort of criteria that your creative task will be assessed on is feasibility, originality, and creativity.
What does feasibility mean?
Yeah, feasibility means how likely is it to work?
Okay.
Is it something, does it use current digital technology that is available to us today versus does it use some sort of like, Star Trek, beam me up, Scotty, teleportation technology.
So we don't want something that's just fantasy, like grabbed from thin air. We want something that's kind of doable, but you don't have to limit yourselves to apps or websites or something that is currently in your hand. You can look at emerging technologies, things that are maybe like 1 or 2 years ahead that we see are growing, but maybe it's not so mainstream yet. So this is up to you.
Yeah, what pops in my head, like wearables and all these sort of future tech that we're seeing that are being prototyped today.
And again, what we're saying is just one perspective. You can do anything.
Absolutely. We're not trying to steer you in any direction. Originality and creativity, quite explanatory.
Yeah.
Self-explanatory. Yeah. How creative and innovative is the idea? Or is it like the standalone, Tinder app for refugees? Maybe not the most creative or innovative idea.
I would recommend you to kind of create as many ideas as possible, quantity over quality first, to try to get through those most obvious ideas.
Absolutely.
To get to a maybe more interesting layer of ideas, to get the more kind of original ideas.
And we have a few resources for that.
Yeah.
We have the Hyper Island Toolbox, which you could use.
Yeah.
But we've also set up a Hyper Island Creative Task Support Group on Facebook with over 500 members of past applicants, past students, current applicants, current students that are there to sort of be your sounding board, so to speak. You can get some feedback, you can share your ideas or fears in that support group. Also, the Creative Task 2016 can be found at hyperisland.com. You can read about the full brief. And also we created kind of a fun, supportive video where I find my inner Shia LaBeouf and try to motivate you to just tackle our creative task head on and try to sort of lose those fears that might paralyze you from clicking submit prior to April the 14th. And there's a reason, actually, we decided not to sort of share any creative tasks that we received in the past, because I think it's important that you do your own research, you draw your own conclusions, and you take your own stab and approach at contributing to a solution.
So we're doing this to help you to not steer you into one direction. We think that way the results will be more diverse and more original than if we say you should do it in this format, or we recommend you to create this kind of format.
Because there's no right or wrong.
There's no right or wrong.
Yeah, you can answer it in PDF form, you can answer it in film form.
Yeah, sure.
It's up to you.
Yeah, so let's take some questions. We have a couple of questions that we've received from you. So one is about software knowledge. How much are you required to know, for example, Photoshop or Word, or any kind of software, After Effects, to be able to partake in the program at Hyper Island? And the answer is you don't really have to know anything about any software to enter here. We won't sit you down and kind of teach you directly any specific software, but we encourage and urge our students to kind of get the knowledge that you need. So if you need a specific software to solve a problem for a client, then you have to learn that by yourself. Teach each other. There's usually a lot of competence within the classes and the groups to learn from each other and from the internet tutorials.
Yeah, if you're working on a project that requires, I don't know, a prototype website, how do you use the skills that you have in your team? How do you use the resources that are available with Lynda tutorials and you know, the Adobe Creative Cloud? How can you best approach those problems? And it might mean that you have to learn HTML, and then you as a team are responsible for learning it yourselves. Another question is, do my certificates and transcripts need to be translated? The quick answer is no, because you might be a Swedish student and you can send us your slutbetyg, so your final grades in Swedish, and we'll of course be able to translate that ourselves. The same goes for Norwegians and Danes, so don't worry about that. I would have to say it would be ideal if your CV were in English, but it's not a deal breaker. But your creative task must be in English. I can't speak English, but it should be in English, and it's in the brief.
So try to make everything as far as you can in English.
Mm-hmm. Another question that came through is, if I am accepted to the Motion Creative program, do I have the opportunity to jump and join the Digital Media Creative program? And the answer is unfortunately no. Those classes are separate. They require separate requirements. So unfortunately, if you are offered a seat to join the Motion Creative program, you can't just switch. You would have to actually restart the application process again. Mm-hmm.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I got a question here about how feasible is feasible. So if my concept is an app, does it have to be a working app or a prototype? And the answer is absolutely not. You could do a very how would you say, rough sort of draft or rough mock-up of your app, if that's the route that you go. So no, you don't have to get it on the App Store.
No.
You don't need to own the domain.
We're looking for the concept or the idea that proves how your service or product would work. If it's a mock-up or a prototype or a proof of concept.
Exactly. So, cool. Well, I want to just quickly say thank you.
Yeah.
It was really fun doing this session with you, and hopefully we see your application come through this spring, and hopefully we meet during the admissions days.
I just want to say a very good luck, really. I wish you all the best, and hopefully see you soon.
So with that said, wishing you the best of luck, seize your potential, and hopefully our paths will cross soon.
Take care.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.